I will be moderating this panel. So glad to see all of you. You're looking really sharp. Sydney, Oko, and Ekwerike. Nice to meet you guys. Before we go into the whole conversation, I have the honor of introducing our panelists. They are fashion designers who have fashion brands that, that rely heavily on sustainable practices. So without further ado, let me introduce the lady of the house, Okwo Onwuka. Hope you can hear me clearly.
I can. Hello.
Yes. Hi, Okwo. So Okwo Onwuka is the creative director and founder of premium ready-to-wear fashion brand Okwo. With the conversation of natural resources and the environment as its core values, her brand's main focus is on textile waste reduction and how it can be used as a sustainable means of traditional crafts and skills preservation. So Nwokwo's innovative solutions to combat waste have led to the invention of a new African fabric called Dakala cloth. And by working closely with artisans and local makers, the label aims to create meaningful change on the continent by evolving the many parts of the expanding fashion ecosystem in a new way of working that is more mindful as it celebrates and preserves the art of creation. So welcome, Nwokwo. Next up, we have Ekwerike Chukwuma. Ekwerike Chukwuma is a multidisciplinary artist based in Lagos, Nigeria. He creatively directs the fashion art brand, and he loves to express himself through his arts, creating on paper and garments. He founded the brand Woman, taking inspiration from the study and drawing of the female form, which he fell in love with during his early university days. He believes that the woman fosters the ideology that garments are storytellers and draws from his heritage, African art and culture to create contemporary works that are engaging and speak to the soul. Hi, Ekwerike. Nice to meet you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And last but definitely not the least is Sydney Emeka Nwokoma, who is the founder and creative director of Emeka. Emeka is a circular lifestyle brand that creates clothing from upcycled fabrics in rural Kenya. Through Emeka, Sydney explores the intersection between environmentalism, diversity, and creativity. This led him to develop a unique brand identity, which brought Emeka to the main stage of fashion, Vogue, LGQ, and more. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I'm so happy to have you. So before we just go right into it, because of the limited time we'll have, we would like if, each question, each speaker takes like 1 minute per question so that we can move to, the other questions that we have so that we can keep the time, as well as we have like a 10 minutes window for question and answers. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box and we'll get to it after our conversation. Right. So let's get to it. I'll start with Sydney. What does sustainable fashion mean to you? So after Sydney, Nwokwo, then Ekwerike. Hi, Sydney.
Hey.
Yeah, so what does sustainable fashion mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel so far what it has meant to me is just a vehicle to create imagery and to create stories that are about the future, that are about the planet, that are about the people. So yeah, to me it was never so much about the fashion element of it. It was more about like, okay, how can we create narratives that are progressive and that are helping us to create a world where, we all want to live in, basically, and where we can live in and where we can continue to thrive. So sustainable fashion to me is like one aspect of creating this world, basically creating a culture for this idea that we all want to go towards. Yeah.
Thank you, Sydney. Nwokwo, what is sustainable fashion to you?
Okay, I just a correction. My name is Nkwo.
Nkwo.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Nkwo.
Okay.
From now on, it's Nkwo.
Cool. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Well, sustainable fashion to me is it's just a way of doing what I love to do, but doing it in a way that it it protects the environment, it preserves cultures, and it takes care of people. And so it's not just working in fashion because I want to work in fashion, but doing it in a way that it just makes a difference. And that difference should be across people, planets, and the environment.
Thanks, Nwako. I really like the part I say across people, planets, and the environment. Ekwerike is okay, yeah.
Yeah,
You're next.
Chukuma is fine. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, so to me, sustainability is it's a conscious approach to design, taking into consideration nature, people, and people as well. So it's for me, it's like a purposeful approach to how you see materials, how materials are used in terms of, for example, converting textiles into garments, and also looking at that relationship with consumption, how people consume, and how all these processes are going on, and we are able to preserve these resources in a way that you can pass it down to generations. So for me, like I love to approach design as an action. So, and I see sustainability like a key part of our lives, even though now it's sort of a trendy word, but for me encompasses more than just fashion and design. It's morality, it's an ethical approach to life. It's morality to me, it's spirituality, basically.
Wow, spirituality. Absolutely, I agree with you. So we'll move on to the second question. This is a bit lengthy, but I'll make sure to keep it a bit short. So millions of people depend on the fashion industry for their livelihood. And we know that fast fashion is a big employer. How can we drive the industry to be more sustainable and customers to be more mindful with their purchases without driving the regular workers to unemployment? I'll go with Sydney. If you'd like me to repeat the questions, or it's
No,
fine.
I heard the question.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel okay. Fast fashion is a big employer, yes. Is it good employment? Mainly not. So I feel like if we talk about okay, how can we, continue to keep employment while taking away power and money basically from fast fashion industries. We shouldn't look at employment as like this thing of like, oh, we need to keep employment no matter what, especially if it is in industries that are actually more harmful than they do good. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we can diversify the market with more local brands, smaller businesses, local designers, who each of them got their, I don't know, 5 to 10 people working for them or something, and through that just again diversify, create a broader spectrum of businesses and of industry, rather than having this like sort of pyramid thing where at the top you have like the big players who make all of the decisions. And moving from this to this will certainly cause a lot of disruption in the job market and stuff. But again, I feel like in the end, it is only for the benefit of better employment, of more respectful work, of living standards when it comes to working. So yeah, saving employment just because people are working in fast fashion or something, I think that's not a good argument to keep them working there. We should look at like diversifying the market and creating more jobs that way.
Okay. Hi, Nkwo. How do you think
Okay.
we can diversify the market, the fashion market?
Sorry, it's interesting because I was going to say pretty much exactly what Sydney said. There is too much power in a very small percent of industry, of the fashion industry, and their main objective is maximum profit. And they don't really care about what anybody else does or how they do it. They just want the profit. And so to maximize their profit, the working conditions are bad. They pay terrible salaries. So like Sydney said, what's the point in keeping people employed in that kind of situation? It doesn't make any sense. So really, there are billions of people in the world. And if all of us, like the smaller brands, employ people, if you, like you said, 5, 10, 2, 1, but you're making a difference to one person's life. And the more of us that do it, the more people stay in employment, and the better, with a better quality of life. And it just keeps the whole industry turning.
Yeah, I agree with you. The power has to shift from the big guns, basically, from the powers that be, in order for money to even go across the fashion chain. Chukuma, let's hear your points of view.
Please, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so I said millions of people depend on the fashion industry for their livelihood. We know fast fashion as a big employer. How can we drive this industry to be more sustainable and customers to be more mindful with their purchases without driving workers to unemployment?
Okay, so well, in regards to that, I think there should be more advocacy in terms of customers being aware of how products are created, like that trajectory, and how like the fabric is sourced and how the end product is created. So it has to be a two-way relationship. The customers have to know about all this, so they stay conscious. For me, fast fashion is sustainability. Looking at it as slow fashion isn't here to, will I say, spontaneously stop fast fashion, because we know obviously that these particular group of people who are capitalists in approach and have been controlling the industry for a long time now, you just can't take them off. So the more customers or consumers are in the loop as to how the process works, the value chain looks like, the more mindful and conscious they will be. And I believe, especially looking at the time when they'll be very careful as to how they spend their money, and then also helping these brands to still stay afloat. So for me, it's going to be a balance. You're not going to have an instance of just having the consumer switch automatically. It has to be like a phase or a gradual process.
Yeah, I believe so. It's more long term, but yeah, I do believe so. For our next question, and this one is quite tricky. In the light of the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, including the consequences of widespread closures and layoffs, what transformations are now necessary for others not to go back to the old system of exploitation and overproduction? So if you can go, Sydney.
Who else want to start?
Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
The COVID situation it's totally new. Like, it's something that the world has never seen before. And so it's coming into a system that has been here for years and years and years. So for serious changes to come about, there's going to be a lot of experimentation. There's actually no one answer that can solve this problem. So we're just going to have to go at it as we can and do the best as we can, and try to mitigate some of the issues that came up during the lockdown. So for one thing, there were a lot of companies who had lots and lots and lots of inventory and they couldn't sell it. There were other companies who had placed orders, things had been made and they refused to pay. There were other people who just lost their jobs, and there was really nothing anyone could do because people weren't coming out to shop. So there, it's multifaceted, and it's also it's new. It's new to us. So there really isn't one solution. We just have to go at it, take it a step at a time. When you try to force things, then you come up with a lot of artificial situations. So like you try to force, people are greenwashing. They're claiming that they're doing things that aren't really happening. And this is a result of, everyone just clamoring to find that one solution, and there isn't one. So I just feel that we all know what is right. And the more of us that do what is right, the more things will change. So we have to take it step by step and just learn as we go along.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's what I think.
Paul. Sydney, you want to go now?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I would just add something to Mko about, like, I was just thinking of how COVID actually affected, the exploitation of workers, etc. Because I feel like the question now implies that, thing got shaken up, and now, we need to take care that we don't go back into like exploitation and stuff. But I feel like actually exploitation has still happened all throughout COVID, and actually it has even happened worse because the factory work, the protect from COVID, go into the big halls and start working and continue producing, because they couldn't do home office or something like this. They couldn't work from home and have a laptop and go on Zoom and stuff. So in the end, I feel COVID has actually just highlighted the sort of separation that there is already, and yeah, how we gonna tackle that? What Nko said as well. Like it's gonna be a long process with a lot of steps in between that. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm truly not, like Oko said, it's multifaceted. It's not a one size fits all. But the COVID-19 has actually brought unsustainable practices in the forefront. It has become something more of like an awareness. And with the greenwashing and everything that has come in between, it's quite obvious to see that everybody is on a bandwagon, so to say. Ekwerike, Chukuma, let's have your thoughts on this.
So basically, in regards to coming up with measures that ensure that we don't go back to the old system, I just look at it from the angle of advocacy, majorly, like creating frameworks that are kind of what's the word? That kind of tax people to be transparent with their processes and actually do real investigations, for example, because like Mrs. Onwuka said, sorry, there are a lot of people actually championing so many things in the name of sustainability, and these things are actually not sustainable practices. And you have these people as sort of gatekeepers in certain institutions, and there are terms like you have certifications and indexes that they use to back these things up, and you being a small brand, like you can't really say anything. So one good thing Mrs. Onwuka said is the more sustainable brands, honest brands, because like in Africa here, I feel we've always been sustainable. Like most designers produce based on made to measure. Nobody really just has an inventory of excessive units or SKUs that they don't know where it's going to end up. So the more of brands like us, the more honest we are in our approach, and being very patient with people, especially in this part of the world where we have so many consumers who still find the word sustainability strange. You know, so we need to find a way to get to these people, because they are the ones who have the money, they are the consumers, and they are the ones to dictate. And the more we can make them aware of their agencies, the power they have to actually dictate the way they want to purchase, the easier it is to create change. So it's not just about a group of only designers or creatives championing these things. We have to find a way to navigate it back to the grassroots, um, to the masses, to people who really the fashion system. So getting them to even appreciate indigenous practices and showing them um, that consumption affects it. Because sometimes when you just say, oh, sustainability has an influence on the general well-being, it seems strange to the common man. They
Mm-hmm.
don't really understand it. Like, and most times there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of sophistication when it comes to it. So it's, for me, it's like politics. If you, after campaigning, you have to break it down to not small nuggets that the common man can understand. And these consumers, the more of them we get aware, the more likely we are going to create significant change.
Absolutely. That leads to my next question about sustainability in the grassroots level. So, and this question is to Unko and then Chukuma. Real sustainable development requires change through culture. And in Africa, especially Nigeria, we have to have an outfit for every occasion. The Owambe and all, the Ashwebi and all. And this one wear only outfit leaves a vast amount of waste, obviously. What do we need to achieve a cultural shift? Uncle.
So, me. Um, you know, a lot of these things, right? There's no one quick solution, because this, it's a habit becomes the culture, and we've had this for some time now. There's been this habit of, like when you get married or there's a party, everybody wears a shebi and this and that, and you can't wear the same one to another wedding. So yes, there is a lot of ways. So there are two things I would do. Well, I would, first of all, we have to make wearing one outfit multiple times. You have to make it cool. And and that's what happens with popular culture. Somebody makes something cool and then suddenly everybody wants to do it. So we have to find interesting, inventive ways to make it okay to wear something twice, there's no other way to do it. How do you tell these, like, how do you tell the society who loves to party, loves to go out, loves to look different? How do you tell them not to wear one thing once? It's really going to be difficult. So it's something that we have to, I don't know, maybe somebody has to make it cool, and then more people will do it. I think people also need to be educated. They need to understand that this thing we're doing is having a harmful effect on the planet. We may not see the results now, but in the generations to come, if all of this waste goes into landfill, then where is the land going to be? There'll be nowhere to live, right?
Absolutely.
So it's, I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but it really has to do with education. It has to do with sensitization. It has to do with making these things fun, making them cool. And then as the habit grows, it will morph into a culture. So there will no longer be that need to always wear something new. But on the other hand, if people don't do that, like wear new clothes, then our fashion industry, which is actually quite, it's very lucrative and it's booming, it will kind of die. So we have to replace it with something else. And so this is kind of like what I do now, is finding ways to use the waste to produce other things, so that there's always some kind of production, and there are always people making money and being employed and wearing clothes. So, that circle, we just have to find a way to make that circle very happy. That's what I would say about that.
Well, thank you so much, Uncle. Ekreke, what's your thoughts on it?
To me, looking at the Ashwebi, for example, it's sort of I would like to disagree somehow that it emanated from times past. I think it's even a recent culture, not too far back. So for me, I look at it as you purchasing and using to discard. That's what it is. So, and culture is shaped by the way we see things. It's shaped by our social conscience. So for me, I don't get the culture of consuming things just once and discarding them. Jonathan, it just goes to show that it's an anomaly. It's because it's crazy. It means once you're not using it again. So, and over time, for me, culture evolves. So when we look at things we've done over a period of time, and we target our own way of life, we have to look at it and ask ourselves, oh, we've been doing this sort of thing. How well has it taken us? Like, how far has it taken us? So you can obviously see that this is not progressive in nature. It just helps us further waste resources. So we have to, first of all, identify that it's a wrong, it's regressive as part of our culture, and take it out. And then the things that shape our ways of life, the way we dress, is still from social tools like media. Do you understand? People see these weddings, like someone is on BellaNaijaStyle wedding, there's an event going on, and they see this nice dress, purple, there's so many colors, red, reddish, brown, and bluish, this and that. And they just go to the market and they pick it up and they wear it. And next day, the media feeds them another color from another wedding, and they purchase that, they discard it. So we also still have to find a way to use that same media, because currently that's where a lot of people seem to exist more. So we have to use that same media to reconstruct that mindset and change it and make people understand how this negates our progress as a people. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And by doing that, I feel that's, and trying to emphasize on purchase, use and reuse. And even if you can't reuse, you can always restyle. So if you have a purple blouse and a green or turquoise skirt, you don't have to wear it the same way again. You can always just add up a little thing, maybe change the accessory. You can even embellish it with an applique. There are so many ways you can repurpose a garment. So you don't have to. So, but it has to still do with awakening their conscience. Do you understand? Because most people just look at what they see from afar, and they just imbibe it and assume it's our culture. Because I remember in those days, our forefathers definitely used most of the resources they had repeatedly. There was nothing like you buying something once and discarding it. Even in those days, the art that was created with the same resource. And like there's a culture called, I was almost discussing it with Mrs. Onka, that's Mbari. So the Mbari art of the southeastern part of Nigeria, they use mud and clay to create the art. And over time, it has always been like that. So for me, that's an example of progress in culture. So the moment we see that a certain approach to living isn't helping us, because if you have to keep buying and buying and buying, then it means you're wasting your income, obviously. And there's just no way that can help us move forward. So.
Yes, I totally agree. And in the case of social media, when Onka and you, Chukuma, mentioned that social media is an important tool, especially to, since social media is what it is right now, we as ourselves have come up with a declutter and donate campaign where people can declutter their items, especially if you have like a one-wear item, you can declutter it to someone else to use for another event or for something. I feel like if celebrities or very known individuals can just, have this platform where they can advertise or more like bring to light the advantages of, not just trashing out your item or keeping it in the wardrobe, but, donating it to people who might need it. In that way, it's definitely more sustainable. Yeah. So that leads me.
Can I add something as well?
Yes, please.
Human beings resist change, right? So for you to actually make people change, you have to replace one thing with another. And living in Nigeria, most people know it can be extremely stressful. And so at the weekends, you just go out, you party, just let your hair down and have a lot of fun. And part of this fun is making these new clothes. So for us, what we really have to come up with is another fun way. So to replace that culture of always making something new, we have to find another way. Otherwise, people will resist it. And people don't like being told what to do. And so if we keep saying, oh, don't wear this, it's not, you don't wear things once, it's unsustainable and this and that, people will resist it. I've experienced it a lot. And so it's for us somehow, I mean, I don't know I don't have all the answers, but we have to find where you take something out, you put something in.
Exactly.
So that's really what we have to do.
Definitely, I totally agree with you. Okay, because of time, we'll just move on to some other questions. And this question is for Sydney. So there's a lot of talk about material innovations like net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Yet we continue to see environmental damage and social risk along the fashion value chain. What do we need to achieve change? Did you get that? Should I repeat the question?
Yeah, you can repeat it maybe.
Okay. There's a lot of talk about material innovations like net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, we consider environmental damage and social risk along the fashion value chain. What do we need to achieve change?
Yeah. Okay, so in my opinion, we can come up with all kinds of great innovations and like whatever fabric made from old plastic that got fished out of the ocean, stuff like this. Great, I love it. But I think what the conversation was going into now, anyways, is like we can have all of the perfect tools and perfect things as long as people don't change their ways, in the end change culture through that society way of doing things. All of this won't really help. So I'm not saying that technology in that sense is not useful. It definitely, but I'm saying that like even if it's perfectly laid out and it's like the best solution, the best fabric you can imagine, we still got to trigger people into actually making that decision rather than the other decision, right? So I feel in the end it is a question of education. It is a question of making it look cool, because sustainability right now really it doesn't look cool. It just looks, a lot of it looks lame. Like, let's be honest. But I feel like especially with Woman brand and also Nko, like amazing. Like this looks dope. Like there are more and more brands coming up that make it actually look good. And if it looks good, then people also want to, be part of that easier. And then we can look into like, okay, maybe we use like some crazy like upcycled fabric from ocean waste or something. But first, culture.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So, talking about making things look cool. So there's this vibe that, at least in the early days of sustainable fashion, where people thought that you had to look a certain way, kind of like old school or not cool. But with you in the picture, you designers in the picture, we can hopefully, and we can pray that people will see that sustainable fashion is actually very, apart from helping the environment, it's actually very cool. I've seen your work, Chukuma, and I feel like it's cool. I feel like, and that's what we've been trying to do, and that's the message we are passing, that for consumers, that you can actually look cool, and then you can actually do this to protect your environment and protect the future. So thank you so much, Sydney, for that. So we'll just go straight to um, Chukuma. I'm sorry I've been calling you a Quiriki. I'm super sorry. So Chukuma, the next question. You created a collaborative collection of ethically made pieces to raise funds to support healthcare workers in Nigeria through the donations of PPEs. So do let us know what the creative process was like.
So first of all, I remember last year, December, I was reading a publication on Punch newspapers, and then I saw that like about 12 doctors or more, or 20 doctors died from due to COVID. So I decided to make my own investigations. So I called the NMA, Nigerian Medical Association, and then the correspondent who attended to me told me that they had died due to PPE inadequacies. So I remember I cried that day. I was just crying because one, healthcare is very sort of personal to me. I went to medical school for 3 years. So I just had this like spark within my consciousness that I shouldn't just leave it at crying or just like the usual Nigerian way, complain. So I decided to take a step further. And while I was meditating, my mind just went to my very, very good and amazing friend, Dr. Lisa Igboga. And so I relayed the information to her. That's okay, see what I found out. I shared the information with her. And then I told her that I wanted us to work together on the project and see how we could come up with a solution to that. And we had a discussion around some artworks I had created before, especially like during the pandemic, during the lockdown, sorry. So I sent her a few of them, and she saw a particular one, which is titled "We Must Design a Better World." So we picked that one, and we decided that we were going to create merchandise out of it, t-shirts, basically a t-shirt first. And after creating the t-shirts, we were going to sell and take the proceeds from that, from the sales, to purchase PPEs. So, but then we later moved into sweatshirts, arc supporting socks, and sweatpants as well. So, and all the funds we generated was channeled to buying PPEs. And then I did the distribution to the hospitals across Nigeria. So I think we covered the southeast, southwest, Lagos. I think, but in generally, we covered over 600 healthcare workers, basically. So the idea was born basically out of my inspiration during the pandemic, trying to look at my work critically as beyond just making profits, because I just have this feeling that there's no amount of money you make. If you really love your craft, that'll be enough. So when you get 1 million, you're seeking 100 million, and when you get 100, you want 1 billion. It's quite insatiable and endless. So I know that I have to create impact. Thanks to my upbringing, my dad tried to inculcate that in me. So I see fashion as a tool to create positive change, which is one of the drivers of that project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the next question, we just have very, very little time. So we'll just scroll through it like 1 minute or probably 30 seconds to answer the question. The next question is to Unko. A need for you to build a fashion brand that relies heavily on sustainable practices, especially in this part of the world?
I wouldn't really say it was a need to. It's just in my DNA. It's the way I was brought up to never waste things. There was also another part of it where I'm very much in tune with nature, and I've watched nature programs all my life, and I've seen how much decay human beings are causing to the planet. And with this in mind, the when the climate crisis hits, it's the developing countries that are going to be at the forefront of this. And for the most part, we haven't even, contributed as much damage to the planet. But if we don't do something to change, and if we're not aware of it, then we're really going to get it when it comes. And I felt that if I could come back to Nigeria and do something that other people could be inspired by, other people could learn from, then it would help to make a difference in my small way. And so that's why I wouldn't say it was intentional. It's just the way I've been. The intent here, though, was to impart the message to other people in this part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with the Dakala cloth invention, I hope I'm pronouncing it well. I read about it, and it's made from upcycled denim. So can you please share a little insights on the creative process, or how it was like, or the inspiration behind it?
Okay. Well, the inspiration behind it was part of my innovation in textile waste reduction. And I was always experimenting and finding ways to change things from one thing to the other. And because I used a lot of denim anyway, I had a whole huge bag full of it. And I'm like, what? Full of scraps. And I was trying to find a way to join, make a new fabric from it. And so when I first I found a way to strip and join the pieces back together. And when I did that, it actually looked like a showcase, it's like, so my husband just felt like this thing was just too cool. You can't just do it and leave it. Do something with it, give it a name. And so we started to look and see what we could call it. And because it's not actually woven. Well, the original Dakala cloth is not actually woven. It just looks like woven cloth. And I wanted the name to be a tribute to those who actually weave, and make new textiles. And so while I was doing my research, I was reading about the sound of the loom and how it goes sakala si, sakala sa. And I just love that sakala, But like I keep on saying, I tell this story so many times, but sakala sounds like sackcloth, and that's really not very attractive. So I thought, well, I used denim, so I took the D from the denim and replaced the S, and I got Dakala cloth. And it's also, for me, I just felt like there's so much waste, and it's a modern problem. So maybe it's time for us to have a modern a new African fabric that solves the modern problem. And so that's how the Dakala cloth came about. As it stands, it just comes to represent what you can do with waste and how you can change it into something you can use again. So it now has many different iterations. And we are finally now working on we launched a new project, and it's called Weaving Waste into Wealth. So it's still Dakala cloth, but this time we're actually weaving the waste into new fabric. And so this is where it has come to right now.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Very insightful as well. So Sydney, my next question is to you. So you're the CEO of Emeka Suits. I wanted to know why there was a need to, go into that kind of fashion. You base your fashion off of, creating suits. Can you like give more light as to why you decided to, have more suits making basically?
To be suits, and that was really the first thing. I guess also, I mean, yeah, suits are a symbol of power and of, you know, and I always felt like everyone in suits looks so boring. It's either gray or blue or black, and it's like there's no juice, there's no expression in it, there's no authenticity in it. So yeah, we started making suits to shake things up, but in the end, it was also just because I like suits. Very simple.
Yeah, and talking about cool suits, you're obviously wearing your suits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. It really looks nice. It has like a double. Is that a double collar? Is that a double collar? It's really nice. Okay, let's go right to the questions. This question is across all board. We've pretty much spent our time is almost up. This final question is: can sustainability be achieved within the economic growth logic? So, who wants to go first?
Yeah, okay, time. Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, of course it can. Of course, yes, of course it can. It just means that you have to not be about making maximum profit because you want billions and billions that you can't take with you when you die. You just have to what you need to do is you can grow. I'm growing. I've grown like a whole lot in the past 5 years. But what I've always done is make sure that I'm taking everyone in my circle with me. So my staff, the people who dye our fabric, everyone, the artisans, everyone we work with, I make sure that they get a share of this profit. And, it's a thing that the more you give, the more you get, and we are all growing together. So it's very, very possible. You just need to not be greedy and think about people and think about planet.
Absolutely. Chukuma, can we have your thoughts on this as well?
So, with respect to Africa, I just think the capitalist approach has sort of taken the world nowhere, honestly, because you just see so much overconsumption, too many products, so much waste. So like Mrs. Onka said, we just have to sort of play our own little roles. And then we have to come to a point where we don't separate profit from impact. I think looking at the capitalist approach, you'd always put profit first. Okay. And when it comes to getting profit, it may just put you in that box where you have to find shortcuts to getting there. So you may have to do some very uncool things. So for me, I would implore most brands to look at profit and impact as two parts of one whole. So the moment we can do that, we would have, and then redefining luxury and success, because it's the way people see success that informs their decisions and actions. So the moment we can have that shift in our mindset as to what success is, the more reasonable we can become with how we handle our business and approaches to it.
Absolutely. Sydney, can we get your thoughts on this? Did you get the question?
I cannot hear you so well.
Okay. Can sustainability be achieved within the economic growth logic?
Yeah, I mean, I, can you hear me? Is the connection okay?
The
It's kind of,
connection is back.
it's back, but it's a bit shaky.
It's a bit shaky. Okay.
There's a
Well, I mean,
lag.
there's a lag. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can go on. You can go on.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, interesting what the two others were saying. Can sustainability exist in growth? I think growth can only happen to a certain level. The idea of infinite growth is the problem. I think growth itself is not the problem, but the idea of like always growing, that cannot be sustainable because, I mean, the basic idea of what sustainability means is that something is circular, right? Like something is recreating itself,
Hi,
and
Sydney.
basically, and the idea of growth is more like always moving past that. So I feel like let's see how it work. I think we can like things can grow, and then they can sustain, and then that will
Um, Hi, Sydney. We can't hear you clearly. If you can probably log in and log back in, or we're almost done. So it's best if you can just stay and maybe switch off your mic. Okay, yes, thank you so much. So because of time is far gone and far spent. Just want to say a big thank you for being a part of this. And it has been an amazing and very insightful. I want to say thank you to everybody watching in. Thank you for being here. It was great. It was insightful. A lot of nuggets and gems. But unfortunately, we have to go. You can check the chat box for the next session. Is in the chat box. So just click on it and it will direct you straight up to the next session. Thank you so much, Sydney. Thank you, Chukuma. Thank you, Nkwo, for being a part of this. It's been awesome. And we look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.